Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. Today's video, you guys, I want to talk about finding the willingness inside of yourself to change. And I want to share with you guys when I found willingness to change, and I want to share with you guys how long it took me, because it didn't happen overnight. The willingness to change for me, it happened after so many years of negative consequences, so many years of me struggling and suffering with my addiction, you know. For a very, very long time, you guys, I didn't know if I was ever going to get sober. I didn't think that I could, you know. I think that happens for a lot of us as we get so down in the hole of addiction that we kind of just give up on life, and we're like, you know what, I'm never going to get this. And one thing that I've learned since getting sober is that attitude of never going to happen for me, that has to be tossed out the door. Because for an addict like me and you, because I'm assuming that you're like I am, a drug addict, you know, a low down, bottom of the barrel, do whatever you had to do to get what you got kind of junkie. And I say junkie, you guys, in a loving way, because I was one too, right? It's not to offend anybody. It's just what I called myself. So we're going to mix the Maybelline New York 24-hour foundation. We're going to do one little squeeze of that, like that. Let's get that off there. There we go. With one squeeze of the Burberry Fresh Glow. Okay. And for extra luminosity, Cover Up FX Summer Custom Enhancer Drops. These are so beautiful, you guys. And they'll give your skin the most beautiful golden glow. So, one drop of that, because these are strong. They'll make you look like the Tin Man. So, for me, willingness to change came over time. I am stuttering today. What is going on with me? I wasn't introduced to anyone or anybody that had sobriety until, let me think. The first time I went to treatment was in 2003, and that was the first time like I ever heard about the 12 steps. That was the first time I ever heard that there was other people that, you know, were as bad off on drugs as I was and got sober. So that kind of like lit a fire inside of me and made me realize, like, I don't have to live like this. But that was still, I didn't get sober for another 12 years, you guys. I didn't get sober until 2015. So what happened for me was, that's when the seed was planted. The seed was planted the first time I went to treatment. Whether that seed took and grew, that's a different story. What I've learned over time is that the seed can be planted, you guys, but unless you're watering that seed and taking care of the soil, then that recovery is not going to that recovery is not going to grow. And so that's what we're doing today in our recovery, is we are taking care of our seed. So we're watering it, we're giving it nutrients, we're tending the soil, we're helping our recovery grow by taking part in, you know, groups, by choosing life, by getting on Suboxone and trying to stay sober and go into therapy, and, you know, following directions, following suggestions. These are all things that help our recovery grow and help us grow in our recovery. So after I got into treatment that first time and the seed was planted, you know, I knew then that I could get this if I wanted to. And I went off on a bad bender for the next 10 years, you guys. I was in and out of rehabs. I started IV drugs. And I would just get to the point where I almost thought it was cool to be on drugs. Like, I hate to say this, but it's the truth. I was like, I thought it was cool. I was having a good time. I was partying, and things were okay, right? For just a short period of time, things were okay. I felt like I was having a good time. And then that all stopped, and life got serious. You know, I got a charge in 2008 for possession of a controlled substance. And that's when it started getting serious, and I started realizing, you know what? I am addicted, and I need help. Even the first time I went into treatment, I didn't think I needed help. You know what I mean? Like, I was still in that, like, mindset that I could make it on my own, and that I had this, and that I didn't need anybody to get me, you know, help me get sober, that, you know, it was my choice. I was choosing to do drugs. I wanted to be like this, right? When all actuality, I had lost the power of choice a long time ago. You know, the minute I started putting a needle in my arm, you guys, I was off to the races, and I had no choice in the things I was doing anymore. Drugs and alcohol were my master. The needle was my master. And I would just do whatever I could to get that. Sorry, I'm blending in this contour. This is just like a Fenty Beauty contour stick. So anyway, I kept on having these run-ins, like with the law. I kept on doing things and getting in trouble because I was, you know, doing illegal shit to get drugs. So I kept on running into problems. Well, then I went to prison, you know, and when I came out of prison, you guys, like, even after being in prison, like, I wanted to stay sober. I really did, but I didn't know how. And out of prison, I paroled out to a halfway house, and they were trying to help me to learn how to stay sober, right? But I ended up relapsing because, again, I didn't take suggestions. I started dating a guy that was in prison that went back to jail, and I was trying to help him, and I was spending all my time trying to help him, Joe, and I ended up relapsing, which is not his fault. It was my fault, but it was a distraction from my recovery, you know? It was something that was keeping me focused on him and not my sobriety. And so I almost lost my good job. You know, luckily Kroger let me stay on, and I worked there for 3 years, and they sent me to treatment, and I tried to get sober and tried to get help. But again, you know, I would get out and I would go right back to the boyfriend and the friends and all the things that were keeping me, you know, going back in active addiction, or the people, places, and things. Like, I didn't realize how much an influence other people had on me until I started trying to get sober, you guys. And when you're hanging out with people that are using and drinking, of course they're not making you use and drink, but they have an influence on you, especially if you can't separate yourself from them. It's like we have to learn how to separate ourselves from those people. So I kept relapsing, right? And I can't say that I was like super wanting to be sober then yet, because it was like I wanted to be sober because I didn't want to like have a shitty life anymore, and I didn't want to be homeless, and I was sick and tired of like not having money and stuff, sick and tired of losing jobs. Then I met Neil, and that's when I started really wanting to be sober, you guys. And then we got pregnant, and when I got pregnant, you guys, that changed everything. That's when, you know, I fell in love with my son when he was born. He was the best thing that ever happened to me. And if I hadn't gotten pregnant with him, you guys, I don't even think I'd be alive today. But all those years, you know, that I thought like I wanted to change, it didn't even compare to how I felt after my son was born. After my son was born, I was like, I've got to change, you know? It wasn't because I wanted to, it's because I knew I had to. And then the longer I started working the program, I went into treatment, you guys. My son got taken away. I went into treatment, and I started like really trying to hear what they were saying, and really try to like take the suggestions that they were telling me, because they were telling me, they were like, you know, Nicole, you can't get out of here and then go back to hanging out with your same friends, right? So when I got out of treatment, I changed my phone number. I got a sponsor. I started hanging out with these 2 girls that were sober that I knew from, we had went to treatment together like 10 years prior. And so I hooked up with Christy and Heather, and we started going to meetings together. I started working a job. Neil was working. We were getting sober, and we were doing our thing. You know, we were on the medically assisted treatment. We had support. We had people that were like, you're doing it. We're doing it, right? But I'm telling you, like, what made me want to change was my son. And, you know, I wish I could say, like, oh, I wanted to change for me. But I didn't love myself enough to change for myself, you know? But I loved my son. And that's why I changed. That's why I got help, because of my son. He saved my life. So if you're out there and you're struggling and you think, oh, I could never do this, I just want you to know that it took me a long time to come up on the willingness to change. It took me a long time to get to a point where I was done, you know, sick and tired of being sick and tired. But that time happens differently for every person. And if you're even on this video and you're watching this video, then that tells me that you're looking for help and that you are wanting to change. So you're already going in the right direction. You know, now all you have to do is reach out and get the help. So don't get discouraged. There's so many amazing options out there. And if you're struggling finding options, all you have to do is email me at demayo@yahoo.com, and I will find you help. I will help you find resources, you guys, and not even think twice about it. So that's my little spiel on willingness to change and how it happened for me. I hope you guys have a great Saturday. Me and Nate are going to Chuck E. Cheese at 5:30 for a birthday party, so maybe I'll take you guys with us. All right, bye.